What about my love? Wasn't it enough? Just let me know so I can hold you.
The wide receivers in the chat. Y'all put y'all top 5 wide receivers in the chat. I want to see where y'all have these guys. Jalen Royals. I'm gonna let you talk a little bit more about Jalen Royals because that's been your guy.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna steal your thunder, but man, after the film study we did last night, if he's not the best route runner, he's definitely it's 1A and 1B with him and Matthew Golden for sure.
Yep. Yes.
The effort that he gives on the field was enough to make him in my top 5.
Jalen Royals, man. I mean, for you, he jumps straight into like outside your top 10 into number 5. For me, he was sitting right at 10, jumped up to 5. If you guys haven't yet, please watch that film study yesterday. We went through not just one game against Utah, but we went through a second against Boise State because we're like, man, we got to see more of this guy. Incredible route runner, great block, or like willing and able blocker. I mean, he doesn't take any plays off. And not to mention, like, he's a great dude, and he's great with a ball in his hands. I mean, for me, it's almost like if you had 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 and Luther Burden kind of blended together, you get Jalen Royals, right? Maybe he's not as good after the catch as Luther Burden is, right? Or the same blocker that 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is, or as reliable as 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is when it comes to catches. But he's up there with both of them. You know, again, maybe not the same exact level of talent in each of those areas as compared to those players, but Royals is an excellent player. And you know, yesterday shed a lot of light on what he brings as a route runner, and the way he's able to absorb contact. Because the one thing I noticed, again, we said this in the stream yesterday, the first thing I noticed when I saw him in person at the Senior Bowl was how compact and built he is. He is able to absorb. He's built to absorb hits. He's a stocky dude. He's got giant legs.
Like, who's tackling you, fam?
Yeah, no one. I mean, it's like, look, he's not getting talked about nearly enough. I mean, this guy is a fringe first-round pick in my eyes now. Yeah. Like, after yesterday, like, I have first-round grades on the top 4 guys. Royals, you know, normally I had a cutoff of top 4. Royals might be a first-round guy for me now, late. So, look, Royals, he has a speed. He did have a foot injury this past year, but he was healthy. He was at the Senior Bowl. He was ready to compete, and he looked the part there. Man, the film just speaks for itself, which, again, we talked about him in a lot of different ways yesterday, but everything that he brings to the table in terms of his character, who he is, the blocking, right, and just the ability after the catch and the route running. Oh, my goodness. Jalen Royals, and I think in last year's class, it's possible, you know, he would probably be one of the first names mentioned right after, you know, Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr., right? He'd probably be in the same conversation as like a Brian Thomas Jr., at least the way I see it, right? Yeah. So let's see, Jalen Space Beast. Funny that you just now comment that Jalen Royals or 2024 Roman Wilson. Jalen Royals for me clears.
They're two totally different players, man.
That's true. That's fair.
And the reason it's hard to say because, like, I can fall in love with the skill set of both. I think Jalen Royals' short game is better than Roman Wilson, but the way that the thing that you can't compare the two, yeah, they might have the same stature or whatever statistically, like on paper, but Roman Wilson was incredible when it came to not having his quarterback suffer for their deficiencies. And this is why I had such a bad, like last year, I broke this down with J.J. McCarthy after the bad game he had against Bowling Green. And just like the amount of times that he would short arm a pass downfield and Roman Wilson would come back and catch that bitch and turn it upfield. I'm like, Roman Wilson's Senior Bowl was incredible too. Like, it was night and day. So I love Jalen Royals and I love Roman Wilson, but it's because of two different reasons. So if I had a downfield deficiency, I'm going Roman Wilson. But if I wanted somebody to, like, I'm not saying that Jalen Royals can't be that way, but I just thought like Roman Wilson had like eyes on the side and back of his head sometime. I was like, what the hell is going on? but they're just so different, man. And again, I wouldn't sit up here and lie to you. I mean, they're so different. So I can't really compare the two. I think my recency bias would tell me Jalen Royals right now than Roman Wilson. Luther Burden at number 4. I hated to have dropped him. Luther Burden is the exact opposite. He might be the best hands catcher in this class when thrown to him, and you need him to come down with a catch. But he hasn't been the healthiest guy either.
Right.
But all the way around, he's tiny. We get that. But he's a guy that plays above his skill level. Love Luther Burden. Go watch the Sliders episode on him. He's an incredible wide receiver. He deserves the hype. He just had a dip back this year. Then
he is a true slot guy, but he's so dangerous with the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
You could argue that he is the best yak receiver, not just in terms of yards, but making guys miss, right? And like you mentioned, he's also very reliable with his hands.
Yeah, go watch on Sliders. He's like a running back playing wide receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, he's small and compact, but he's quick, he's shifty. He has elite production, elite pedigree, right? He was a 5-star coming out of high school. So this is a guy who it's not like he, just came out of nowhere. He's been on the map. People still can't stop him.
Yeah.
This past year was a little bit of a down year by his standards. So he's going to look to bounce back. But I think that for a team who utilizes a slot, like I'm thinking like maybe like a team like San Francisco, right? They just lost Deebo Samuel, right? They traded him or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go out there and get Luther Burden. I know you're trying to stay cheap because you're paying Brock Purdy a lot now, or you're about to be, right? So Luther Burden, drafting him as a replacement would be a great move in my opinion. He's just that type of guy who is an instant impact guy in the slot, who is reliable, and he's so dangerous with the ball in his hands. You just got to get him the ball, no matter how you do it, because he's that dangerous.
Matthew Golden, everybody got put on game this year. The hype is real. Can catch anything thrown to him. Isaiah Bond took a severe backseat to him this year. And when Quinn Ewers, outside of Gunnar Helm, when Quinn Ewers couldn't throw it downfield and need somebody to come back and catch the ball and still get 10 yards of yak, it was Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden was making people, he was, outside of Jalen Royals route running, Matthew Golden might be the best route runner in this class.
100% agreed.
He's a dog.
Golden is someone who has risen up draft boards after the draft because of how fast he ran. I had him as my number 2 guy since before the Senior Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to like toot my own horn here, but I mean, this is purely a film thing. It's not just because, Matthew Golden go burn the 40. No, when you turn on the tape, this guy is extremely crisp with his routes. He has incredible hands. He has incredible control over his body. He's able to contort himself to bring in 50-50 balls downfield, right? And not to mention, right, he is fast. That does help. But when you watch him on tape, right, he's not like, you don't see blazing. You don't see a 4.28 speed, right? But again, he said it's because he wasn't asked to, but he's fast and quick enough to make guys miss after the catch. He has breakaway speed. Absolutely. He has the twitchiness to be able to get out of his breaks at the top of his route really quickly, right? To snap around and locate the football and bring it in and then make a guy miss. To me, Golden is an excellent Z receiver, which makes him a little different, right? McMillan, X, right? Royals, X. But Golden to me is a Z. Nneka Egbuka, he played a majority of his snaps out of the slot. And same thing with Luther Burden. Both of those guys, again, mostly used as Ys, but I think Nneka Egbuka has abilities that could translate better to being an X or a Z than Burden. So you have a variety of receivers here, not just in terms of skill sets, but also in terms of literally where they're lining up on the field, right? So Matthew Golden, I think that he could be an elite receiver here. He's very, very precise with his route running. And you said it best, I think. Him and Jalen Royals were all 1A and 1B when it comes to their route running in this class. I think there's no doubt about it.
𝗕𝗂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀, what you told everybody last night? Let them know the amazing stat of 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 on the history of Ohio State.
What did I say? Yesterday.
He's the all-time what?
Oh yeah, he's the all-time leading receiver at Ohio State. I mean, with all those great receivers, you think of like Ted Ginn Jr., right? Then you have Garrett Wilson. You have you have a lot of these guys, Chris Olave, especially recently, right? Yeah, you just had Marvin Harrison Jr. go through there. So many talented receivers. And even with Jeremiah Smith now, who is Jackson Smith-Njigba, right?
Yep.
Who is the leading receiver all time at Ohio State out of all those guys? 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀. And who probably will, because he's going to have been there all 4 years, right? 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝗀𝘀𝗀𝗀, even after Jeremiah Smith leaves.
And I'm going to need y'all to start going to these people's chats that think they know about this draft class. And when they say he's just a slot guy, I want you to slap their hand out of the way and tell them to shut up. Because it's not true. It's not true with 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀. Go back 2 years when he was still playing there, getting buried in the depth chart by the who's over the last couple years. He's been statistically the best receiver they have had. And maybe it's because of his tenureship. But 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀's never been the #1 guy at Ohio State. Never. Guess what also that I found out the other day? 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 has the lowest drop percentage ever for a tenured wide receiver in his 3 years at Ohio State. Reliable, fast, can play all over the field, can play X, Y, and Z. He's amazing, man. He's amazing. Yeah.
Great route running, especially against zone coverage. He's so good at finding the soft spots in the zone. And of course, right, he is more than willing and more than able as a blocker out of the slot. Because he doesn't profile as a typical, like, kind of smaller, like, little shifty slot receiver, he brings a little bit of a different skill set there. So if he does end up playing there in the NFL, because I'm not sure if a team will want him to stay in the slot or move him outside. But for me, at 𝗂𝘀𝘀, you can use him in any scheme in any way. And he's as reliable as it gets. You pointed out, right, that the drop percentage being an all-time low for Ohio State. We talked about it, him having, being the all-time leading receiver at Ohio State. He's as reliable as it gets. He stays healthy. And you know what he does too? He fights through competition. He doesn't run from it. I mean, this is a guy who has always almost played second fiddle to someone, right? Whether it was JSN, right? And then Marvin Harrison Jr. and now, Jeremiah Smith. He's never been talked about as the #1 guy on his team, even if he produces like it, right? Jeremiah Smith was the talk of Columbus, right, in their offense this past season. It's all about Jeremiah Smith, freshman phenom. And granted, he's great. He's incredible. But 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 has always been kind of the quieter #2 guy when it comes to the level of attention he gets. But he doesn't care. He's still going to compete. He's going to grind. And he is going to outwork anyone. 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is just a guy I would want to have on my team. The dedication he brings, the willingness to block that he brings. 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is a great receiver, right?
If anybody in this wide receiving group is going to be the best pro out of this class, it might be 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀. He's severely underrated, severely overlooked. Matthew Golden is probably the most talented one. Short-handed catcher. He's
great
nasty.
Route runner.
Tedorone McMillan is the best wide receiver in this class. I don't care what Steve Smith says. I don't care what anybody says. For the fact that people are saying, oh, he took plays off and things like that, I need you to point out where. And I need you to point out all the flaws that Noah Fifita had this year for being so hyped up. Like we hyped Noah Fifita up just for him to throw the pie in our face. I'm super embarrassed by the way that kid played, but I understand. Totally different system. They should have just went to Washington, but I understand why they stayed.
Yeah.
But the jump, people saying that, oh, he's just a 50-50 guy. You don't know what you're talking about, because not even a quarter of his catches were 50-50 balls. Let's stop the cap. He's probably one of the best after the catch runners next to Jalen Royals. Like, literally and truly, watch the film and tell me that he's not one of the best yak guys when he has time to get out and run the ball. He is the only receiver in this class next to Emeka Egbuka and Matthew Golden that do not take plays off of routes. They constantly are trying to find themselves in the open field. He's great, man. I don't foresee Tet being bad in the league.
You said it all for Tetairoa McMillan. I mean, his blend of size and ability to move as a receiver is pretty uncommon. So the Kelvin Benjamin comps, like, need to get out of here. Kelvin Benjamin was a refrigerator out there when it came to yards after the catch, but McMillan, he's got some real ability there.